The Formula One world might just have been turned upside down with the FIA's new technical directive on porpoising. The new statement, issued on safety grounds, will prevent teams from running the car at unsafe levels, and the FIA will monitor the G-forces Formula One drivers are being subjected to. Long story short, what this means for the Formula One teams is that if the cars are bouncing beyond the permissible limit, they will have to alter their setup and increase the ride height. The obvious takeaway from this is that some teams that have a better grasp of the bouncing phenomenon will be able to run their cars lower, while other teams might be forced to run their cars higher. So, with this new FIA directive, which teams are in a prime position to benefit the most, and which ones might just have a lot of head scratching to do? Let's find out. On June 16th, the FIA announced it would introduce a technical directive. For safety reasons, this is intended to reduce porpoising. The bouncing sensation certain cars have suffered has had a negative impact on the drivers, resulting in Lewis Hamilton showing visible pain. The bouncing sensation certain cars have suffered has had a negative impact on the drivers, resulting in Lewis Hamilton showing visible pain. Various cars have been experiencing bouncing sensations that have had a negative impact on the drivers, resulting in Lewis Hamilton showing visible pain when trying to get out of his Mercedes after crashing. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix took place last weekend, and Daniel Ricciardo commented that he wasn't exaggerating given the pain he himself suffered on the bumpy Baku circuit. Pierre Gasly has also recently spoken out against concerns about the health risk of porpoising, saying that it is undoubtedly unhealthy. Physiotherapy is something I have before and after each session, just for the sake of it. It is causing me problems with my spinal discs. Basically, you do not have any suspension. Everything hits you straight through. This is what we discussed during the driver's briefing, and we tried to alert them of this issue and ask them for solutions to prevent us from ending up with a cane after 30 years of age. In the opinion of Lando Norris, it is up to the teams to resolve the problems, and there is nothing to be concerned about since they can build their cars higher at a cost to overall performance. In Canada, a technical meeting with the teams is scheduled to take place in order to address this issue after the FIA intervened in response to conversations with doctors and about how the cars are bottoming out at high speeds. A plan for implementation has yet to be announced. Instead, the Federal Aviation Administration offering their own technical solution to this issue, the teams themselves will be required to make any necessary modifications to comply with the directive. The FIA released its technical directive on June 16th, stating that following this season's 8th round of the Formula One World Championship, during which porpoising, otherwise known as aerodynamic oscillations, in the new Formula One cars caused a negative impact on the driver's health during and after the event. In the interest of safety, the FIA, the governing body of the sport, has decided that it is necessary to intervene and make necessary adjustments to reduce or eliminate this phenomenon. This chart shows the changes the teams have made to their cars from pre-season up to the race in Spain where this data was collected. And that shows the changes the teams have made to their cars over the course of the season. The before and after lines show the change that was made along the y-axis. Our objective is to measure the vertical G-force along the vertical axis and the amplitude of the porpoising. Frequency is measured in hertz here. If you look at the Ferrari here, it's measured in hertz. They met their pre-season expectations, as you can see. However, they managed to bring it down quite a bit throughout the season. In addition to Aston Martin, McLaren and Red Bull, there are also Red Bull and Aston Martin. We can see the trend in all of these teams on this little cluster here. The amplitude of their porpoising has decreased during the season, and they are increasing. The frequency in this general motion now has a couple of exceptions to this. Most notably here, we see that Haas actually started off with a pretty low porpoising relative to the other teams, and then over the course of the season, they've actually increased. Another example here, and possibly even worse situation, is Alpine. They've also slightly increased their porpoising and frequency as well. One last point to mention on this chart is Mercedes. As we can see, they were the pioneers of its kind of an average spot in the mid-pack of teams of its porpoising. In reality, they have actually reduced their amplitude more than any other team through the course of the season. If anything, they're likely to have the lowest frequency. That's all you need to know here, so keep that in mind. To a limited degree, the teams are porpoising, but it varies from event to event. In addition to porpoising and bottoming out, which are the ups and downs of the car, there is also the braking contact, which takes place when the car touches the track. The setup of each team's car will indicate the amplitude of this to varying degrees, regardless of their intended amplitude. Mercedes seems to have more problems in that regard, even though the amplitude is less. They have set up their vehicle in such a way that it is more likely to bottom out. Take a look at this last chart here, and we'll see how much of the porpoising amplitude compares to the others. Comparing the teams side by side will allow us to make a better comparison. Again, we have the y-axis, indicating the number of wins, vertical G-force and team throughout. You can see that Alpine does indeed have teams. Porpoising amplitude is the greatest of any team, followed by Ferrari and Haas. In the middle, you've got McLaren and Aston Martin, and at the lower end you have Alfa Romeo, Mercedes and Red Bull. So we can see where every team stands in the terms of their goals. That's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you to my fellow viewers and subscribers for watching this video all the way through to the end. If you guys do like our content and especially our efforts, just destroy that like and subscribe button. We are